All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey, thank you for joining us today for this special book signing event. It is my honor to welcome our guest, award-winning author Mary D. Hester-Clifton. Mary, who writes under the pen name Deborah Hester, is not only a passionate poet and social entrepreneur, but also the director of the Office of Communications and Institutional Advancement at UAPB. With over 35 years of experience in Fortune 500 companies, she brings a wealth of knowledge and creativity to her work. Her latest book, Sage Can Never Age, continues her tradition of reflective and heartfelt poetry, blending spiritual elements with visual artistry to inspire readers on their personal journeys. A native of Helena, Arkansas, Mary is deeply committed to the multicultural experiences and actively supports her community through various initiatives, including grief support sessions. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mary D. Hester-Clifton.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to shift it up just a little bit. Thank you so much for coming today. This is the first time I've had this type of book signing. This is sort of a presentation and book signing. Ms. McGee reached out to me probably last year about this, and I had no idea it entailed so much, but I'm very grateful that it does. I think one of the things that Jalea was probably, I know she came in and I think there's some things that are going on, but I'm going to stop and back the program up just a little bit and make sure that Kim Jones-Sneed does my introduction. That's okay, because Kim, there are some people in the room who have been very supportive. And I think that's one of the biggest things, and I get very emotional about it, so you guys have to bear with me. But the people that are in your life as you journey through life are so important. And it's important to share, it's important to acknowledge, it's important to love them, because God placed them in your life. And it's key. And you cannot journey through this life alone. So often we focus on our individualism, and that's very unique and very good. But the company we keep along our journey is everything. Everything. Wow. So I'm gonna stop, and because I know, like I said, Jalea was sort of rushed in here, and I think there's some things going on and things going on in all of our lives. And I'm gonna back it up and let Kim do this introduction, because I did ask her to come and do that for me. So
I was ready to go ahead and hear from Mary, but thank you so much for being so kind and so cordial. For the past year, I've had the privilege and honor of working with Mary. I had heard of her years before and wondered, who is this lady? Kind of like that song, who's that lady? But for the past 3 years, she's been the Office of Communications Director, and I've had an opportunity to work with her. And as the young lady who introduced her did a great job, she is a seasoned business professional. She's a multi-talented writer. She's an editor, a photographer, a videographer, a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. But I'd say her gifts are truly making room for her. You can see the blossoming of the fruits of her labor, and there's more to come. She's going to share a surprise with you before this session is over. But she was recently recognized locally and nationwide for her professional expertise and her photographic finesse. One of the books that you see here is Look Up Mississippi, and there's a picture that was featured in an art exhibit in New York. This past December she was chosen, and then the art exhibit was shared in a gallery, and she'll probably tell you more about that. But that happened in February, if I'm not mistaken. The art exhibit was going on in February, and she had a chance to attend the opening session just before several feet of snow fell. But she made it, she and a good friend. And then another organization recognized her called Women We Admire. They selected her as one of the top 50 women leaders in Arkansas for 2024. And I was so proud, just so excited to see that she was part of that inclusion. They said that they believed, well, she said she believed someone recognized her journey and what she's still trying to do that has brought her into the fold, and for that she's grateful. By the way, the View Arts Center in Old Forge, New York is where her art exhibit, or where the exhibit for her photo from My Backyard Garden, Look Up Mississippi, photo memoir, and Way in the Middle of the Air poem, that's where her photo was able to be exhibited. So she writes under a pen name of Deborah Hester. And for those of you who may not be aware of this, I don't know if you remember the Reverend Dr. Anthony Hobbs, who had such a footprint over the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Well, this is his beautiful daughter, one of his daughters. And so I knew of Reverend Hobbs, but I said, Mary, I don't know why I don't know you. How come I know you? We put two and two together one day. I said, you are his daughter. Oh, Lord, what a blessing. So I love that fact, and I appreciate working with her. I don't want to tell too much, but I'm excited about all the work she's doing. I'm staying close to her. I told one of my daughter's sisters who's here today, I said, I'm staying close to Mary because when she blow up, I'm going to blow up right with her. But she's very inspiring. She reminds us to work hard, yes, and that in working hard, there are some rewards along the way. And all work and no play made Jack a very dull boy. So she reminds us too that it's important while you're working hard to also be passionate about what you do what you love, share what you're doing, and be an inspiration to others. So without further ado, I'm going to bring back our guest today for this wonderful book signing event. And I want to thank the library for this, because over the years we've attended several events like this at the library, and I love how they just embrace authors, yes, and give us a chance to be able to hear from them and be able to just network with them and feel close to them and their work. So without further ado, I'm going to bring back today's special guest, Mary Deborah Hester-Clifton.
Okay, now, and you know, Kim and I have worked together, and that's one of the things that I love about her. We can kiki, you know, we can laugh and stuff, and it brings back, you know, because I can get passionate and start crying, tears and stuff like that, but then you put a joke in there, and it sort of brings it back. So I love that about her, because I like to laugh, and I love to see other people laugh. I think if I had taken any other avenue, it would have been a stand-up comic, but I was just afraid that people would throw stuff. You know, they have to go through that period where you go up there and people throw stuff at you, and New York, I don't know if y'all know that. And I was like, I ain't doing that. So, but I love to see people laugh and make jokes and have a good time. But with that said, you know, Kim gave a pretty decent overview, an excellent one actually, of all the high points. And I think that maybe what I can do for a moment is walk you through my journey. And then you can sort of understand how I got here. And it's really strange. I think what I would share is that everything that you experience and go through, when you align, and this, I'm a spiritual person, I believe in God. When you align with God, it will all come together for His purpose. There is nothing, when I look back over my life, there is nothing that happened to me that did not align to bring me into the purpose that God meant for me in this world. And the thing about that is that God has placed, and I truly believe this, in everybody's heart a purpose. You know it. Sometimes you don't want to say it. Sometimes you feel like it's too hard. Sometimes you feel like it may not be the right thing. Some people may support you. Some people may not support you. They may discourage you. But in your deepest heart, in your deep spirit, you know this is for you. Yes, so if there's anything that I can say is align yourself with the purpose that God has placed in your heart. That's it. That's it. And just start moving. I have my sort of mantra as a part of my nonprofit. It was Mother's Backyard. I say inspire, inform, transform. And I'm very specific about inspire. Inspiration is sort of the, I don't know how to put it, it is the fuel.
Yes.
It's the fertilizer, it's the meat on the bone. It is what you really need to be able to get up every morning and align yourself with that purpose. So I say find your inspiration. And sometimes you don't get a chance to do what you want to do, but find time to do what is placed in your heart. You know, sometimes, you know, I grew up with some tough parents in that, you know, they said, do what you have to do. You know, keep it legal, keep it legit, keep it ethical. But you may have to do some things you don't want to do. So you get a chance to do some things you want to do.
That's right.
Right? And believe me, even the things you don't want to do, they serve a purpose for what you are here to do. So under Mother's Backyard, and I'll tell you a little bit about that, I worked in corporate America. I started out as, in high school I was an editor. That was probably my first experience. I was like a newspaper editor. And I wanted to be a photojournalist. And I'm gonna date myself now. Way back then, there was no female black photojournalist. Most people, when you said photojournalist, they were still trying to figure out what journalism was, right? And especially broadcast journalism. Broadcast journalism, there were probably, when I went to college, there were probably 5 universities in the United States that had a broadcast station. Okay, it was that long ago, where they were live broadcasts. And I did pick one of them, which is Oklahoma State. But I left the journalism because, I left the photojournalism because I just didn't see people like me. I didn't seek out on-screen talent, to be an on-screen talent. Like my major professor said, you need to be a weather person, right? I didn't see a weather person that looked like me, right? I saw white males, you know, and so I just couldn't see myself in it. Even after he said you need to be a weather person, right? I couldn't see it. So you just make sure that even if you don't see what you want to be, that still is in your heart. You may be the person that lays the foundation for somebody else. So, and you may have to break the barrier. So it's okay. If you don't see who you want to be, it's still in you. Be who you want to be is one thing. So I want to talk a little bit about the books. This was my first book. You guys are here because of Sage Can Never Age. Sage Can Never Age is my poetry book, and it's my 3rd book. The first book, My Mother's Backyard, is really the what opened up everything. My mother lived for a long time. She lived to be 96. Like you said, Dr. Hobbs was my dad, my birth father. My parents were not married. And a lot of people don't know that, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I met him very late. The father that I had was a great dad that raised me, but he was killed in an automobile accident by a drunk driver on Mother's Day when I was like around 9 or 10. Now, I didn't even remember my 5th grade. Yeah, school, 5th grade at all. So you would think that that was a traumatic experience, but that death made me sensitive enough to, when my mother passed away, realize what grief does to people. I didn't understand it at the time, right? And so what I did was, my mother, she was an alumni UAPB, AM&N, and so she did not understand this whole broadcast journalism, whatever, but she supported me through it. On her deathbed, my mother said, "This is your book." When I tell y'all, my mother had never said, "This is your book," ever, okay? So when she said, "This is your book," and she knew I wanted to write, and I would start books, start, you know, never wasn't disciplined about it. But when she said that to me, and literally she was in the hospital dying, we had taken her off of life support, and she said that Jesus had prepared her, that he had told her to help the children, that the children go out into the world for the nourishment that they need from their own backyard. So thus, my backyard garden, and it was her love, or my love for her, that helped me overcome this grief. And my mother left this assignment, I think, as a way to help me keep moving and to help me stay strong and focused, because she was my rock. You know, everybody has one. They may be a friend, they may be a mother, they may be a brother, they may be a cousin, but everybody gets that one person in their life that is there for them and like no other. And when you lose that person, it's devastating, right? Very, very devastating. And so my backyard garden, that's how it all started. This is sort of the end-of-life story of what happened through, like when I heard that my mother was ill, because like I said, she lived 96, had never been hospitalized. And so when she was hospitalized, I was like, uh-oh, I was traveling, I worked in corporate America, and I was like, I gotta get there. And I did not leave her side for like 36 hours. Like I had my sister and my brother was like, you need a shower. I was like, no, I can't shower. You'll just have to wait. I'll wash it up and keep going. And but it was an experience that I documented here. And it also was the birth of hashtag Empathy for Grief, which I have free podcasts. So I hope you guys can come to my website and check out the podcast. I sort of started them and stopped, but I'm going to pick them up again because my church is allowing me to offer grief sessions. It's compassionate conversations around grief and loss at 10 o'clock. Every morning, you can. It's a short enough time for you to stop by. Kim stopped by for one session, and you can still go to church, get to your 11 o'clock service, so you can do that. But you can also go out and get free podcasts on this book. I started sort of documenting it, and just because, you know, how many out here are interested in writing a book? Okay, let me tell you something. End it. Okay, because it will never end. Right? You gotta find your beginning, but really you really start with where you're going to end. Because the way your life and your thoughts and your contributions are when it comes to writing, it will never end. You can keep writing and writing and writing and writing and writing, and your editor gonna say stop writing. But you know, find your end point, then start your beginning point and end it. Because with this book, it could have gone on and on and on, never gotten published, never finished, whatever. And I did find a publisher for this book. And the other thing is that's why I started the podcast. Because this would never end, podcasts help me reflect on all the things that I can't get in the book that would never end. Okay? So that's my recommendation just from my experience about writing. Find your end point and write to it so you can finish your project. Okay, because it is a project. The other thing I wanted to say was that my second journey really was look up Mississippi. And every book has a reason, right? And that's why I said it goes back to your purpose. It goes back to, I think as an author, you look for what is your passion and what it is that God has placed in your heart to leave here as a message for someone else. You know, and the thing is that a lot of times somebody said, you know, there's this saying that says you're planting a tree that you'll never get a chance to enjoy the shade. And that's okay, right? So many, you know, Kim and Dr. Glover, they keep telling me you're going to be an award-winning author. I was like, you know, and best-selling, all this other thing, and that would be great. But one of my biggest things that I was really glad about to look up Mississippi is that when I was out here trying to get my website together and all this other stuff, and now everybody who's in social media, I work in social media for the university. I don't have time to do my own stuff. I wish I had somebody really to take over and do that for me, and at some point maybe I will. But look up, I was out there searching, and look up Mississippi. Is in Harvard University's bookstore. And you know, like Harvard University, they sort of throw that around. So I was like, is it the Harvard? Then I saw Cambridge. I was like, it's the Harvard. Cambridge, Mass. But this is the book where one of the photographs was selected from for the art exhibit. Now, granted, when I took these photographs because I was afraid of Mississippi. I grew up in Helena, Arkansas, and it was right across the river from Mississippi. I never looked east. Okay, I was always trying to look away from Mississippi, right? We are west of the Mississippi because I was afraid. My mother and my aunts, we used to go shopping in Memphis, Tennessee. And you would have to drive across the Mississippi River, up 61 to get to Memphis to shop. Now, of course, with women, they go shop to the last minute, then it's dark, and they're supposed to get back down 61, cross the river into Helena before it's dark. We left at dusk. So that meant the drive through 61 down to Mississippi was stress and pressure. Y'all hurry up, girl. Sister, you better, don't speak. Yes, speed. Don't speak. You know what I mean? So as a kid, I'm in the backseat just stressing about Mississippi, right? And so as I got older, and after I wrote this, I said, I'm going to move to Mississippi, right? So I literally moved to northern Mississippi and right off 61, and I started taking photos. Because it was gorgeous, you know, and that Mississippi River, just like the Arkansas River, it will create beautiful skies and the clouds and everything. And so I started capturing it, and so those are some of the photos that are in here. And I also wrote a poem because when I was there, they got rid of the Confederate flag, right? And it wasn't a Confederate flag, but it had that Confederate emblem. And let's hope it stays this way.
That's right.
Okay, let's pray it stays this way.
Right.
But they added the magnolia. And I don't know if you guys know, I love magnolias. I grew up with magnolia trees, pecan trees, chickens, grapevines. We grew everything in our yard in Arkansas. And when this happened, the state Senate passed that law on a Sunday. Why Sunday?
Wow.
Okay, and I thought, there's some people not going to be happy about that. That's why those legislators went up in there Sunday, where most folks was trying to fish, go to church, do something else, and pass the law, and it was quiet and everything. I said, I'm going to document it because it's meaningful to me. And I think that it's an opportunity for us to look way in the middle of the air. Right, way in the middle of the air is our opportunity to look to something better. Because Mississippi had a terrible reputation. I mean, I've never, if y'all seen Mississippi Burning, that movie, it was an old movie. I couldn't watch it. I could not watch. Every time they bring up something about I can't watch it. Because it's just too much human suffering for me. Right? And so when they did that, I think hopefully we can look to something better at some point, and that's what Look Up Mississippi is all about. Is that Mississippi is a beautiful state. It was beautiful before any of us got there, of any race, for the Native Americans, and it's still beautiful. Let's not make it ugly by our thoughts and our actions towards one another. Let's keep it beautiful. Let's look at what is common, what is beautiful, and this flag is an opportunity to do that. So that's Look Up Mississippi. And one of the things that I realized the other morning, the girlfriend that Kim was talking about who went with me, we went to, it was snowing like Star Wars. The snow was just, right? But they went with me to New York to the exhibit where Find the Rainbow is the photograph in here, and I don't have it marked. Find the Rainbow is the one that they selected to be in the exhibit. But when I found out that Harvard had it, what I realized the other morning is that I had dedicated it to two of my high school classmates who attended Harvard. It was a female from Helena Central, Yvette Nanley. Yvette Nanley was a national merit finalist. I don't think I have ever met a female smarter than Yvette Nanley. And believe me, I have worked across this globe. Yvette went to Harvard in 1974 as a black female engineer and graduated from Harvard University. Okay? The second person went in 1973, Rob Kinchen. He went as an undergraduate and went on to graduate Harvard Law. Both of those people have left us now. They passed away, and believe me, y'all, it is not easy to break barriers, right? I understood their experience in Harvard. As a matter of fact, I admire their courage. They went from Helena at 17, 18, 19 to Cambridge, Massachusetts, right? In 1974, 75. Can you only imagine what their experience was like as students on that campus? You know, not only was it racial, there's the whole social economic side of it at Harvard, right? But they finished, both of them had careers, they passed away, so I dedicated it. So it was with great honor that hopefully someone at Harvard from their bookstore will either made that connection, or my greatest desire is that it becomes somebody's research.
Wow.
Right? Because those two people, their story should be told. Right? So that is, look up Mississippi. And it almost brings me to tears a little bit. I had one in here. You guys would have had to know him, you bet. You know, and both of them were. Like, Rob was an athlete. He was a really nice guy. I see BC Cotton back there shaking his head. He was in school with us. We were all in school together. And he was just one of those guys that just, you know, a great guy and smart. Yvette the same way. Great personality, funny. She would always correct us too, though, right, about things. So I have one in there called Yvette's Veranda, because I bought this house in northern Mississippi, and the front yard had a courtyard, sort of like Spanish, but the back side was like a two-story colonial, and so the bottom part had upstairs and bottom side, and we were talking about, well, let's go out on the patio. Yvette said, that is not a patio, that's a veranda. So I got a story. I got a picture, and then it's called Yvette's Veranda. Okay, so she would always get us straight. And but the last book, and then I'm going to stop so you guys can ask some questions, and I'd also like to introduce my VC Cotton in a moment too. Vice Chancellor Cotton is the reason I'm here. Like I said, we were in school together, and he and his wife Dolores. And I got pictures where on the student council, me, George, and Dolores, we all lined up next to each other. You know, and off and on, you know, I'm not good really at keeping relationships. Like I tell you guys, I love the journey. I met lots and lots of people, and a lot of times I'm not good at just keeping it. I tried through LinkedIn. That's my medium really now. Yeah. Is you know, and I'm the type of person on LinkedIn. I go everybody's birthday, everybody's, you know what I mean. It is important. I love to say happy birthday. I love to say happy anniversary because it's my way of just saying I'm still connecting with you. So the last one is that we're really here for is Sage Can Never Age, and Sage Can Never Age is just another story, and that's what I tell you as aspiring authors. There is a story in everyone.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is I keep in my cell phone next to my bed my notes app. In my notes app, every time a thought comes through, because you know you have so many thoughts and ideas and stuff like that, it is in here, right? And with my poetry, it was the strangest thing. After COVID, and I don't know about you guys, but during COVID, I was just nervous wreck. I wouldn't, because here's what was strange with me about COVID. I've been through a lot of things. I've been through 9/11. Like I was there when that second tower. I worked for the company that occupied 90% of the second tower in New York. Right. So when that happened, I just happened to be at home because I was a single parent. I had 2 kids, and I said, "Mom, I'm not going to travel. I'm not going to go to New York." I had been in that tower that spring. and it's so funny, I had a friend that worked on the New York Stock Exchange, and he said, "I'm going to take you up to the tower around the world." So we went up there, it was closed. The guy said, "Oh, come on, we'll just show." So I got a chance to look at it and everything. That is gone. And you know, and the thing is that when it happened, my mom called me, she was living right. She was like, "They bombed New York." And I'm like, "What?" You know, because I'm thinking, we got satellites. They don't bomb the United States, right? That just doesn't happen. So she said, "Cut on your television." And so I cut on my television, and I actually called the person who was on Wall Street, and I said, You know, his name was Terry. I was like, Terry, what's going on in New York? And he said, Carol, he said, somebody else. He said, some plane is running to a building again. Because it was not infrequent that, you know, little small planes go and run into the buildings in New York. It's just, that's, you know, he was that, because he was a New Yorker. I mean, he was one of them folks who would never leave New York. If you ever met a New Yorker, they just special, right? They just, man, they are New Yorkers. So he was one of those. So he's, So then I went back and I turned on the television just in time to see the second tower fall, right? I worked for Morgan Stanley at the time and Discover Card. So what Discover Card became, and their call centers became the emergency centers for all of the families that were trying to find out about their loved ones in the Twin Towers. So that just took on a whole nother day and everything. But God had placed in my spirit at that time not to travel, not to be there, not to be in it. And we had people who were traveling, because we were a traveling corporation at the time. Like I was living in Phoenix, you could work in Chicago, you could fly to New York. They just had that kind of mobile thing. And I didn't travel. And but the Spirit guided me that way. And I say all of that to say that the Spirit will give you information faster than you can write it down. So if you're trying to capture thoughts, ideas, or whatever, have something handy to write it down. And that's what happened with Sage Can Never Age. And I got off on 9/11 because COVID-19 for me, I wouldn't let anybody in my house with their clothes on that had been outside. You left your shoes in the garage, you took off your outerwear clothes, we put it in the dryer, we spinned it in with, you know what I mean, and then you could come in and because you didn't know what it was. Remember that time? There was a one point when we did not know what it was, but people would die from it. So I didn't know if it was in the air, on your clothes, in your hair, on your shoes, the bottom of the ground. So, you know, I was trying to cover all bases. But at the same time, I was very stressed out. So what came to me in that traumatic period was a spirit that I called the spirit of rhyme. Y'all, I was not into poetry like that. But I would just be awakened with this rhyme. Somebody would say something, and it would just stay with me. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. And then I would write it down. And after I wrote it down, more would come. So that's why I say write it down. Because writing it down then becomes the beginning of the rest of the story. The beginning of the rest of the rhyme. The beginning of the rest of the song. Whatever it is, the beginning of the rest of the speech. Right? It is in you, but you got to get it out. And so this is Sage Can Never Age, a little spirit of rhyme. I put them all in here until my daughter said, Mom, you need to get them out that phone. And so they were right. And after I got them out the phone, and these are my two lovely daughters here, Chanel and Marissa. And when I got out my phone, I was like, you know what? I told them, I was like, I got over 50 poems. And between 2020 and now, and I still have one, that probably a couple of them that I didn't put in here, but I ended up with all those poems, right? From a little spirit of rhyme that would come to me and help me out. And then I started looking into poetry, because this is my other thing. I feel like everybody has a talent, everybody has a mission, but, you know, I came from a family of educators. You gotta be skilled. You gotta know technique. Before you break whatever it is, you need to know what the rules are. Right? Whether it's music, whether it's rap, whether it's rhythm, whether it's poetry, whether it's story, whether it's medicine, whether it's engineering, whatever it is that is placed in your heart to make it different, you got to know how it exists within the rules of the profession now. So I got me a little poetry book. I was like, okay. I remember back in 11th or 12th grade when my English teachers was teaching Miss Nash, Miss Miller. I'm calling it out for BC College. Y'all don't know the folks with BC College back then. But all those teachers that gave, and then I realized too, and for those anybody writing poetry in here or wants to write poetry? Okay, one of the things that I also realized is that find your poetry ancestry. I've started working on that. Who are the people, who are the poets that really inspired you, right? So I've started my poetry ancestor, and Robert Frost was one of my early ones, because my teachers, that's what they taught me. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, right? You know, and then you come forward with Nikki Giovanni, right? Maya Angelou, right? People like that. But, you know, they had the white male as the foundation of poetry for the long. Emily Dickinson was probably one of the few females. But so you learn all these different things, but learn your craft, learn your industry first, then break it, then do your thing, because it is in you to do that. And that's basically the story behind Sage Can Never Age, Spirit-Filled Poems. And I have a couple of visuals in here because I really am graphic design focused, I'm visual. So I have a couple of things in here that shows some of the art that I want to take to another medium. Because now I'm just on this creative journey where I just want to create. You know, and I want to write, and I want to paint when I have time, and I want to put together abstracts. I really think the collage is my next medium. And I'm gonna, I guess, have some questions. I don't know how long I'm supposed to be up here, but I got one last reveal. You guys are the first audience to hear about my children's book. My children's book is almost ready to go. This is the front cover. Silent Day, Flower Day. It's about a little girl. Her name is Lily. And Lily lost her grandmother. And this is the day of her grandmother's funeral. And what Lily has to do is get through that day like all of us do. But as a child, and I once again, remember guys, I told you that my father was killed, right? I am writing the story, even though the characters are slightly different, because it's a grandmother instead of a dad. This was my experience the day of my dad's funeral. Wow. Yeah, because adults are mourning, and children are there seeing adults mourn. And a lot of times, adults don't have anything to help a child get through that day, right? And a child doesn't have anything to help them understand what's going to happen. It's a little scary. I don't know about y'all, when I was standing there, and you know, my dad was there one day. I saw them drive away. He got killed on the way, bringing my sister to AM&N, right? That was when they were coming back, and that's when the car accident. So I saw them leave, heard the ambulance when I was standing down under the tree, because you know you can hear the ambulances in small towns. My mom said they had an accident, ran up the steps there, went to the scene of the accident. They'd already removed them. I never saw my dad again. Next time I saw him, he was in a casket. And they were rolling that casket up, and I was like, I can't do this. And I jumped up and ran out to church. And, you know, of course, the ushers and everybody helped me and get that. I didn't ever go to his graveside. And, you know, a lot of times with African-American graves and graveyards, they don't maintain them. So then I couldn't get over there. And now I don't know where it is, right? So it's this whole thing. And I didn't know what was going to happen. So with Lily, she gets a chance not only to think through her experience, but solicit the help of adults in helping her overcome her grief. And so that's the story. The day that Lily wakes up, knows that she's feeling some kind of way. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know exactly what happened. You know, and my favorite scene, I'm going to reveal this one to you guys, was the repast. And I don't know if you guys know the repast. When I realized that the repast was a cultural thing, was Michael Jackson's funeral. When Michael Jackson died, it was a reporter said, they having an after party. National TV. She said a repast, an after party. Now y'all know it wasn't no after party, right? But she didn't understand the cultural meaning of a repast. So I put that in my book because I think that's important. But to sort of define what a repast is. But for me, I was like, why are y'all eating and laughing and having fun after my dad has died? You see what I'm saying? And so that's one of my favorite scenes in here. The illustrator is excellent. And she kept, you know, Lily is like, why y'all, you know what I mean? It's just a great scene, and I think it helps parents and children understand that transition of, you know, how to talk to them and how to tell them how they're going to get through their day of a funeral. And it's just the beginning. And I also want to say that my foreword was written by Dr. Glover. Thank you, Dr. Glover. I just wanted her to just ensure that I was presenting it. You know, you can write these kind of books to me, you know, because adults do their own thing. But for kids, you want some guidance. You want to make sure that you're reaching and touching them in a certain way. And I knew she was a professional, you know, in social work and experience. So I just wanted her feedback on if I was telling the story in a way that was appropriate for the age group that I was targeting. So that's it. What questions do you have?
If you could summarize it, like briefly, can you describe like the process of
Yeah, so like briefly, like, could you describe your process of like start to finish, like the process of writing a book, and like where your inspiration comes from?
I think inspiration comes from either a thought, a word, or an incident that happens for me. And with poetry, it's a word. If you look in my book, like A Sage Can Never Age, there's a poem about, and someone kept saying, and I just forgot the name of it, but so it's something that's said, and it just resonates with you. It resonates with your heart and your spirit. And then after that, write it down. And then it's back to your educational process. You know, try to get a good summary of what it's about. You know, then if it's fictitious, like with this children's book, which I'm trying to move myself in from nonfiction to fiction, is character. And I've sort of played with it, but trying to understand who you want to be there. To me, it's very like a scene, right? Put yourself in the scene. You are there, and you're telling the story of whatever the scene is, right? Whether it's fictional, real, it's trying to find your voice and telling it from what you would try to say or think when it comes to that scene. And then write it down. Try to outline it in its basic English writing, beginning, middle, end, right? If it's a play, it needs to happen in 3 acts, 2 acts, you know what I mean? So you gotta learn to segment. And once you segment it or outline, that's another one. Sometimes I'll outline stuff because there's so much in you, you gotta get it all out on a piece of paper, then flush it out. Then move it around. It's sort of like you get all your pieces out there and then you can start rearranging. Well, no, I really don't want to start in the parking lot. I want to start in the basement, right? But you got basement, parking lot. So that's basically how my process. And then I just get more and more and more detail.
I don't have a question at this time. I just wanted to, you think most of those classes have been most enjoyable.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm so used to being in church, and a lot of times if someone gets out, then I can kind of, but it's been most enjoyable.
Thank you very much. Come on up here. You say something, please.
So I'll be very quick because, like a lot of people, I've got to get to another meeting. This is funny because the only thing I will say is in life, cherish relationships. Mary and I go way back, as she said, to children growing up in Helena, West Helena, and I am so proud of her. Mary and I have not seen each other for years. I'll just say this, and both to try to embarrass her in front of her children, but also to acknowledge her just for you all. One of the things that, and if she didn't do this before I came in, I'm going to do it now. One of the things about Mary that everybody needs to know is that the Mary that you see in front of you is the Mary that we grew up with. Mary was always the first to do everything. She was the first African-American majorette in the history of Helena Central High School, and I've got my annual at home, and it's this beautiful picture of her, you know, twirling the baton. As I recall, she was the first African-American publisher of our, was it the school newspaper? So she was always doing something, and she was always impeccably dressed. Her mother was just a wonderful teacher. She was all of our teachers and was a role model. And she came from a family of role models, African Americans who always spoke well and looked well. So I'm extremely proud of her. We had not seen each other for years, and as fate would have it, I was looking for a new director of communications a couple of years ago. Had not seen Mary in a very, very long time, and get this resume from someone, and I'm like, wait a minute. It said Mary Hester-Clifton. And I'm like, who the heck is that? And I started reading through it, and lo and behold, it's my old high school class.
Wow.
So be careful. You know, my grandmother, God rest her soul, had a saying that said, be careful how you treat people on your way up, because you may meet some of those same people on your way down. So it just so happened that, you know, we grew up together, learned a lot growing up in Holden, West Helena. Unlike Mary, I grew up very, very poor. As a matter of fact, we were so poor that poor folks called us poor. We were real poor. So the Hesters were always our role models. Value your appearance. Value how you learn to speak. Value your relationships with people. You know, never take advice from people who are more screwed up than you are. And I think a lot of times we're doing that. So I'm so proud of Mary. I need a signed copy of all the books. But again, I got to run, but I'm glad you all had a chance to hear the Mary Hester that we grew up with. I'm impressed, but not at all surprised that you have done this. So thanks for the time, and I've got to scoot out.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Scott.
We have a question from the student.
Hi, so I'm an education major, and as someone who works in I work at an after-school program, but a lot of my kids experience grief badly, from gun violence and stuff. I couldn't catch if you said the name of the children's book, or when do you think you'll be releasing it?
I hope to release it, what is this, April, May, by June. I think what you will see it, and I'm gonna do a plug here. It's Juneteenth in the Bluff. I'm gonna have a table, and this children's book will probably be published by this time. It's still a part of my Backyard Garden series. It's called Silent Day, Flower Day.
Thank you.
Juneteenth. And just, I'm in Children's Hall, Office of Communications, Development Office. I always stay next to Mr. Fuller. Most folks know Mr. Fuller office. You can stop by anytime, and I'd be more than happy to try to arrange some way to share it with the children and things like that. And that's where I say, or in the introduction, they talk about me as a social entrepreneur. That is my goal now. I told one person, I'm not trying to make $1 million. I will be a millionaire when I've touched 1 million lives.
That's good. Are there any more questions from the floor? If not, we're going to turn it over for presentations.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amaya Calicut. I'm a junior here at UAPB, and I will be presenting the Certificate of Achievement to Mrs. Mary Deborah Hester-Clifton in recognition of your outstanding academic contributions to student success and your valuable participation in the John Brown Watson Memorial Library System book signing.
Better tell us where to stay.
Thank you.
My mom was a Delta too, so I'm a legacy Delta. And DC Cotton talked about he was poor and we were not. I had lived in an extended family. So for us to end up having the things that we had, it took 3 women who were teachers, who were sisters, to pool their funds together to make sure that myself and my sister and brother were who we are. So a lot of times, people look at and see one thing, but they just pool together. My aunts did not have any children. They were much older, so they ended up being sort of widows. And my mom ended up a widow, so they just worked together. And that's why I keep telling everybody, it's the journey of the people that are with you that makes the difference, right? So be with someone It's not us apart, it's us together. And,
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sonia Lockett. I'm the interim library director here. And on behalf of Ms. McGee and the rest of the library staff, I would like to thank everybody for coming today and supporting our book signing. We welcome our students and our staff and community members to come by the library anytime, visit us, allow us to show you a tour, show you the things that we have going on in here. And Ms. Clifton, you want to sign some? If anybody would like to purchase a signed copy, please come on up now. Thank you. Have a good day.
and thank you guys too for everything.